All warfare is based on deception. How many times have we heard that in these 3 weeks that this game's been out? I know I've heard it at least about 21 times, firing up that game every time, and each time it sounds a little bit more ridiculous. Before I get into the actual impressions and stuff of this game, I just want to talk about this opening really quickly. When I spawn on A side in this map, I love to run down that hall and just kind of take over this building, because if you run in with like the dual FMJs especially, you win every close quarter battle in this room, as you'll see me kind of do. And you can always run back, clear out the whole room, and then look across the other building. And usually you get like 2 or 3 guys watching B flag, kind of waiting there to have all your teammates run up and start trying to cap while they sit back in their little tower and snipe away. Oh, get knifed. But as you can see, really quickly you can get a lot of kills, especially just taking over this building. But what did I want to talk about? Game's been out for 3 weeks now, and I think that's about the right amount of time you should give a game as far as heavily playing it, to gather some impressions. You want to give it a good chance. You don't want to just like, I hate when reviewers like will play a game for like 8 hours straight on day one and like start forming all their opinions. It really, you need some time to digest it. And for me, a game like Modern Warfare 3, 3 weeks seems about right. So on the day that it released, 3 weeks later, we'll get into some impressions, as I take forever calling that precision airstrike. Oh, and one more little sidebar. I tend to find myself running with precision airstrike as a kill streak more often. I mean, it's definitely more potent than it has been in the past, just because, well, for Modern Warfare 2, it was kind of pointless to run that, especially at 6, because if you wait till 7, you get the Harrier with it, which essentially is a precision airstrike along with a hovering, roided out beast of a airplane. But in this game, especially with the way the maps are laid out, it's a pretty good kill streak. So let's talk about some of we'll start with the negatives about my impressions of this game. First thing, and this is perfect because we have some host migration. But the first thing I'm really kind of noticing is the servers, and they've gotten better, but they still, you can be playing on a 3-bar and it'll feel like a 1 or 2 as it has, or compared to like Modern Warfare 2 or even Black Ops. Those games seem to run a lot smoother as far as keeping things even. As you never felt at a disadvantage if you're running on a bar, but if you're going at a 4-bar or less, as I sound whore the shit out of this guy, if you're running a 4-bar or less, I mean, you are at a really big disadvantage. And I've heard things where if you turn off recording in game, it gets a little better, but as you can see by the hit detection in this video, I tend to do a lot of recording via the theater mode. So that's not really an option for me. Can't really use that. But it has gotten better slowly over time, and I have been impressed with how much they are updating the game. As far as, I think we're on patch number 3 right now, which is pretty, 1 a week. So I would rate that an A+ as far as their attentiveness to the community and its needs. But still, we've all experienced like some really negative stuff as far as servers go. Another big negative I had with this is the maps. Now, I actually really like this map, but to me, the whole map thing is they seem all kind of bland and generic. I think back to Modern Warfare 2, and there's so many memorable maps, and even in COD 4. And this one, they all just kind of blend together. And I think the big reason is they all kind of have the same layout. It's always like three, I guess, alleyways or areas where you can run down. Like here, it's C flat. It's always like divided up into like a Sudoku game board, if that makes any sense. But every map kind of just plays the same. I mean, there are some exceptions. I think it's called Village. I always refer to it as the Playboy Grotto with the cave in the back. But that map I really enjoy, and even Arcaden I really enjoy in this one. But for the most part, there isn't really a standout, memorable map. And that kind of takes away from the game. Like, for Modern Warfare 2, you had stuff like Afghan, which was just a fantastic map. And Wasteland, which is very unique in its own right. And hopefully they can, with some of their new releases, or at least some of their DLC, they can remedy that. But I play on PlayStation 3, so I'm going to have to wait a month anyway. Another negative before we get into... Or one more negative is spawns. Now, I thought about doing what I was going to call a spawntage of all just the shittiest spawns I've gotten while playing this game. I realized that wouldn't be very fun for several reasons. No one likes to see a guy get killed over and over in really bad ways, but we've all seen it. You get spawned in a room facing away from a guy with a gun, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better in that regard as far as the patches go. And a final little nitpick I have is the timing, especially when it goes to reloading and using other, like using your stuns and your flashes. It just seems to take so long with some of these guns. The game is so fast-paced that it really doesn't seem fair that you have to take so long to switch out a magazine or, throw a stun. It's like these guys are doing slow-pitch softball. But the game is not all bad. So some of the positives, and I think they really did nail some things with this game. The balance, for number one. The guns in this game, now people will complain about the PP90, the Super Soaker gun, and even the Type 95, and those can be pretty deadly. But overall, each gun has its own feel, and it seems balanced. And balance, to me, is one of the big things you can ask for in any multiplayer game. And along those balance, the kill streaks seem really balanced. Not only are as far as when you get them and how you use them, but the game doesn't feel overly dominated. Now, I know they nerfed the AC-130, and it's not the same. There's no Harrier, but where you get these kill streaks seems a lot more adjusted than it was in anything in the past, including Black Ops, which played a lot slower and was less, in my opinion, less dominated by kill streaks, except for maybe the dogs. And game modes, I think they really got right. Now, I play a lot of Domination, but Team Defender, Kill Confirm, these are just great additions to the playlist. I wish I could say I played them more, and I really should. But just to have a little bit of a mix-up in that regard, whoever came up with those ideas deserves like a substantial raise, because those are really great game types. Another thing they got right was the strike packages, and this goes back to balance. If you're running assault, you can really take over a game if you get on a streak. But at the same time, if you're running support, you can always help your team. And specialist is just a shitload of fun. But the way they set up and the actual kill streaks they use, I think, for me, the only gripe I would have with the kill streaks or strike packages, I would say it would be a little harder to get the EMP, because often I'll get into games where if everyone's running support and the team's playing as a unit, and this is how you're supposed to use it, you're going to be EMP'd the whole time. Now you can counteract it with Assassin Pro, but like you kind of... It puts your team in a major disadvantage, and it seems to come a little too easily. I mean, that's the point of the EMP, is to put the other team at a disadvantage. But if they bumped it up to like 21 kills, or maybe even just made the EMP last only 30 seconds, I think it would balance out the game a little bit more. Now, the final thing I really like is the feel of the game, and this goes back to Modern Warfare 2. Black Ops, as we all know, it felt different. It felt slow. And I started playing COD when it was COD 3, so I'm kind of used to that Treyarch clunkiness around with the controller. But people joke it and call it Modern Warfare 2, or Modern Warfare 2.5, but really they couldn't really improve too much than what they had here. So those are my impressions of the game. This is after 3 weeks, and it might change. I have some stuff coming up. I think I'm going to do some breakdowns of how to play Domination on various maps. starting with Resistance, so hopefully that'll come out later. But after 3 weeks, I'm still enjoying the game. I wish I could play it more, and I'd like to thank everyone for watching.